Welcome to the Best of Beaver County, presented by St. Barnabas, a weekly segment dedicated to putting the focus on the amazing things and the amazing people behind them in Beaver County. The Best of Beaver County is sponsored by and content is provided by St. Barnabas. The show airs every Thursday from 11 to 11:30 on WBBP, WMBA, 99.3 FM, and Facebook Live. Now, with no further ado, let's welcome host Mike Romai to introduce today's program.
Good morning and welcome to the Best of Beaver County radio show on the St. Barnabas Radio Network. I'm Mike Romai. Since 1900 and counting, St. Barnabas has been caring for people in southwest Pennsylvania. Today in Allegheny, Beaver, and Butler counties, we offer a full continuum of care for our residents, patients, and the community. The St. Barnabas Health System has developed into a visionary leader in the healthcare industry through compassionate and quality care, offering an array of unparalleled healthcare services from skilled nursing to extensive memory care activities and programs. Additionally, the St. Barnabas Medical Center has world-class doctor and dentistry teams where patients can receive a full range of services under one roof that also include rehabilitation, home health and home care, memory care, hospice, and palliative care. Building upon its heritage, the St. Barnabas continues to reach out to those in need and lives out its mission through individual and institutional services, which help the health and social needs of all by increasing their quality of life. Men and women are invited to join in the work of Christian caring, healing, and teaching, and along with St. Barnabas, bear witness to its founder's reminder, God is able. Our first guest this morning will talk to us about our congressional district and our region's economic strength. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Chris Deluzio. Congressman Deluzio represents us in the 17th Congressional District. Congressman Deluzio, welcome to the Best of Beaver County.
Mike, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to our chat here today.
I certainly appreciate you coming on, and our listeners get an opportunity to hear of their representative, and it's just been a couple of weeks. Tell us and our audience a little bit about you, because I know you were in Beaver County quite a bit during the campaign. Do you call Beaver County home?
I'm sad to say I don't. I'm an Allegheny County kid. I grew up, west of Pittsburgh and Thornburg, and my family and I live in Aspinwall, just above the Allegheny River. But I love spending time in Beaver County, and you certainly saw a lot of me in the last few months, and you'll be seeing a lot of me, here when I'm home from Washington on weekends and when we're not in session down there for sure.
What was it that inspired you, prompted you to run for Congress?
Look, my life has been shaped by public service, and it's why I ran. I went off to the Naval Academy after high school, and to give folks a sense of, my age, the 9/11 attacks happened my senior year of high school. So I was drawn to serve like a lot of my fellow veterans of around that age, of that vintage. And, I ultimately served as an officer. I deployed at sea a couple times. I did a tour on the ground in Iraq before becoming a lawyer and working on democracy issues, our elections and voting. And it's really that public service is why I stepped in the run, why I'm trying to fight for us down in Washington, and why I'm trying to do everything I can to be a good representative and represent us well in Congress.
Your seat, the 17th Congressional District, this is one that was held by Connor Lamb?
It was.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, and he ran for the Senate, right?
That's right. Connor ran, in the Senate primary, and I was, proud to succeed him down there. And he's been a good friend and someone who's given me good advice and counsel about the job and how to do it well, how to deliver for folks back home, which I think people too often forget down in Washington. It's not about getting on TV shows and the rest. You got to deliver back home and fight for folks, and that's always front of mind for me, certainly. What
kind of presence do you think you'll have here in the district in Beaver County?
Well, one of our offices is going to be in Beaver County, and we're keeping the space that Congressman Lamb had in Beaver County, Center Township. So we're going to keep that space and make sure we got a presence here in the county.
Okay. It's up on Broadhead Road. I remember it well.
That's right. Exactly right.
So they're just going to change the name on the facade, and it's going to say Congressman Chris Deluzio.
That's exactly right. And look, we already got the phones up and running for folks that have got issues with the federal government. I always remind people, whether it's Social Security or VA benefits, IRS issues, passports, immigration, whatever the case may be, you call us, we'll help, and I'll even give the number if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Can I do that, Mike?
Yeah.
Call us 202-225-2301, or you go to our website, deluzio.house.gov. We'll help you out, and if it's a state issue, we'll connect you with the state rep or the state senator to get you help.
I know that from experience that Congressman Lamb's office had a very good staff working out of Center Township. How does that work? Do you keep the staff, or do you bring in your own?
A little bit of both, and one of the key people who helped Congressman Lamb's constituent services is our director of constituent services. So we're really going to, lean on that expertise. Saran Cox, she's great, and she's going to lead our constituent, the ways we help folks navigate the federal government. So, we bring some new folks in, we rely on some expertise that's there, and basically make sure we're ready to answer the phones and help people navigate the federal government.
Congressman Chris Deluzio is our guest, and it was interesting you said if you have issues with the federal government, you call our office, and I thought, it sounds like Festivus. We got a lot of issues with you, But yeah, I mean, and you have to be able to find yourself through the choppy waters that is Washington, and I guess that's holding true for you as well in your first few weeks in Washington. One of the things people usually say is that for at least the first 6 months, what you do is try and find your way to the bathrooms in D.C.
Well, look, I would be lying if I didn't, if I said I didn't get lost a few times. So it happens as a new member down there. But, look, it is the honor of my life to get to do this work for all of us, to represent Western Pennsylvania. For folks who followed along at home, it was a bit chaotic. I mean, I'll be frank, the Republican votes to get their speaker, to get Kevin McCarthy as speaker, it took 15 rounds of voting. We were there until almost 2 a.m. on Saturday morning to get sworn in. So it was a little bit of a chaotic start, and it was a real risk there, and the real cost, aside from seeing some dysfunction, was it meant the House couldn't do any business. We couldn't name a railroad. We couldn't respond to an emergency. We couldn't have any sort of legislative or committee business until there was a speaker election. So I'm glad we were through it and finally getting to work, because that's ultimately what the job's about, is getting stuff done for the people of Western Pennsylvania and the people of this country.
Chris Deluzio is our congressman. Tell us a little bit about the horse trading that goes on. What was that like? If you can share with us some inside baseball of what was happening during those 15 votes.
Well, what you saw on the Democratic side was, we kept voting for Hakeem Jeffries. Our side was unified. And what you saw with the Republicans was a big group, at times I think north of 20 folks, who were delaying the business of the House by voting against their nominee for Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. And for people listening, I want to just be clear about this. This is not something that happens every 2 years where there are these multiple rounds of voting. This was the most drawn-out election for Speaker since before the Civil War. This is not a normal thing. And it's a shame. This held up the House from doing any work for the people of this country. And, again, I'm glad they got through it, but it really was a little wild. I mean, there were people having to be held back. I'm sure people have seen some of the pictures on the Republican side of members who were being held back from each other, getting into a fight. So it got pretty heated over there. And I'm just glad we're through it. The country needs us to be ready to get to work, whatever our party, and that's the job. So yeah, I wish we hadn't had 15 rounds of it, but unfortunately we did.
And in terms of being in the minority, and as you said, Speaker Kevin McCarthy was sworn in, and the Republicans are splitting up the committees. As a newcomer, as a rookie in Congress, will you be seated on any committees, or who do you have to work with? Who are you meeting with at this time?
Well, we will, all members will have seats on committees, including freshmen like me. We haven't gotten those assignments yet. It sounds like maybe in the next week or so we'll find out our assignments. And whatever, folks' political parties are, I think the key thing here, whether you're majority or minority, is you got to be ready to deliver and work on behalf of your constituents, as I am. These committees, Democrats, Republicans sit on them. We, do legislative work together where we can. I'm not naive that there are pretty hotly contested partisan fights, and I'm not going to compromise on my core values, but I'm going to compromise and seek common ground where I can, and especially where it means bringing things back home from the federal government for Western Pennsylvania. That's what people should expect of me, and that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, the Republicans really wanted this seat badly, but you prevailed. What do you think it is about this district that you were able to be successful in your first run of Congress?
Well, I remain humbled and proud that folks have sent me down here to serve. And, what I talked about on the campaign trail are things that I think people around here in Western Pennsylvania care about. I talked about bringing our supply chains and our manufacturing back home, growing union jobs, protecting the union way of life, strengthening our manufacturing. I talked about protecting people's reproductive freedom, so I'm not making choices for women they make on their own with their doctors and their family or whoever they want to consult. We talked about having our democracy be normal and healthy, that when, people vote, their votes are counted and people respect elections. I don't think these are wild or controversial ideas. And on the economic front, I think people in Western Pennsylvania know the cost of bad trade deals. They know the cost of anti-union activity that pushed our jobs not just out of this country, but down the right to work states. So we know what's happened in the last decades where we saw our manufacturing jobs ripped away from us. And it's been time for a long time to fight to bring those jobs back. And that is one of my top priorities in Washington, whether it's this term or if I'm lucky enough to serve again, is I'll always be fighting to do that. I think we're seeing it. Frankly, we're seeing some bipartisan recognition, especially with communist China. It was a mistake to think they'd be, fair and equal partners in trade, and that to ship our manufacturing and our supply chains all the way to the Pacific to China. We got to be doing better. We got to stiffen our spines in global competition and wake up that we can't have every piece of our manufacturing, especially high-tech and critical materials, being manufactured by an economic adversary, a national security adversary. So that's got to be part of what we're doing, and I think there might be a chance to do some good bipartisan work, especially on confronting communist China.
Who is helping you navigate the waters of Congress at this very early stage?
Well, of course, I lean on my family and so many who helped me in the campaign, but we've hired, good staff down in Washington and in the district. I seek out advice of my predecessors in Washington, both Congressman Lamb and Doyle, who, have been generous and offering good advice. And, it's not just making friends and navigating down there on your side. You got to have some friends across the aisle, and so I'm always working to do that. I joined a caucus called the Four Country Caucus of veterans from both political parties, Democrats and Republicans. I think it'll be a good way for me to not just have friends across the aisle, but have those relationships to work together to get things done, especially, I think, on veterans and defense issues where there is a little more bipartisan cooperation.
Congressman Chris Deluzio, as we speak today, the debt ceiling has run out. This is the last day for it. Any conversation concerning that and where it's going to go from here? Because people talk about, well, we have to cut the budget, so it's always Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, defense, those sort of things. What are you finding out as far as the future for the debt ceiling is concerned?
Well, if you'll indulge me a minute, I want to say something to the folks who are listening. The Congress has already authorized the spending that's happened. And so this raising the debt ceiling is to do it for spending that's already passed through the Congress. It's already been approved. And so what we're seeing here, and I wish this weren't such a partisan thing, the Republican leadership and members of the Republican House majority are talking about holding the American economy hostage, all of us, all of our lives, whether you've got retirement savings, you name it, and being willing to wreck the economy to force cuts to Social Security and Medicare. What they ought to do is do a clean bill to raise the debt ceiling for spending that's already been authorized. In no world should we be holding hostage hard-earned benefits and Social Security that people work their lives for, Medicare as well, just to pay the bills on things that Congress has already authorized to spend. I think it's crazy. I think it's on the backs of hardworking people like in Western Pennsylvania. I think it's to protect, frankly, the billionaires and huge corporations who don't pay their fair share in this country, because that's who they ultimately want to cut taxes for. So I'm sad this is one of the first big fights they've decided to make. I think it's a mistake, and I think it's pretty cruel to hold our economy hostage and all of us and risk economic harm to every family in Western Pennsylvania and this country just to try to force cuts on seniors to programs like Social Security and Medicare.
And do you think, you mentioned bipartisan, reaching across the aisle and being on different committees, do you think that it is possible in this climate that we've had over the past 5 years in the country to gain any momentum with a bipartisan coalition?
I think on some issues it will be. I hope it will be. I think you saw bipartisan votes on some of the issues around China recently, for instance, and I voted in favor of creating a select committee in the House of Representatives to look at and dig into and make recommendations for how we can be more competitive in the American economy, whether it's defense, trade, cybersecurity, intellectual property, you name it, to really stand up to the Communist Chinese government and put us on a more competitive footing. And you saw bipartisan support in both parties on that vote. I think you'll see some opportunity there, and perhaps that committee and some other places. I remain optimistic that Veterans Affairs is a place where we can work together and fund and staff the VA. I'm a VA patient. I use the VA facilities. We've got a hospital in the district in Allegheny County. Of course, there's a clinic in Beaver County. We got to fund and staff those, the VA and those facilities so that we, as a country, as a society, keep that faith, that sacred promise to my fellow veterans that this country made when we set them off to fight and serve. So I'm hopeful that's a place we can work together as Democrats, Republicans to do right by veterans. And I'll look for opportunities where they arise. My party matters to me, but it doesn't matter more than Western Pennsylvania or this country. And I'm always going to look for chances to do what's right for folks back home.
Okay. Our guest is Congressman Chris Deluzio, and it sounds as though you're very optimistic going forward that you can do the job that you were elected to do and fulfill the promises that you talked about on your campaign trail.
Well, I'm hopeful in some ways. I'll be frank. I don't think the Republicans have any interest in protecting union rights. I don't think they want to even contemplate passing a law that I support or a bill that I support called the PRO Act that would hold union-busting companies accountable, that would recognize once again that the right to collectively bargain, that the right to form and join a union is a sacred right, is one that's protected under American law. So I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic about where the fights are and where I don't think there's going to be a chance with this Republican majority to do the things that I talked about. Okay. I don't think they're going to do anything, frankly, to protect reproductive rights. And in fact, they've already had us vote on a couple measures that would restrict abortion rights. Congressman, and so I think there are some partisan fights ahead.
Good. Congressman Chris Deluzio, 17th District Congressional District, thank you for taking the time to be with us, and we look forward to talking with you more in the future.
Absolutely, Mike. I'm always happy to chat, and folks can definitely reach out to my office if anything we can do. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be there to help.
Okay, thank you very much. Coming up on the Best of Beaver County, Fundraisers and Founders Day with Shelli Sommariva from St. Barnabas, next on the Best of Beaver County.
It's been stated before that working at St. Barnabas is compassionate work with excellent career opportunities. In addition, we've heard when you enjoy what you're doing every day, it's not work. But don't take my word for it. Let's listen in to what motivates their employees.
Hello, my name is Emily Tahansky, and I love to be able to help others and knowing that I make a difference in a person's life.
Find out about the exceptional career opportunities St. Barnabas has to offer by visiting stbarnabashealthsystem.com/careers for more information or by calling 724-444-JOBS. That's 724-444-5627. Find out why St. Barnabas is apart from the ordinary.
Welcome back to the Best of Beaver County. Since the beginning of 1900, providing compassionate and quality care has been a cornerstone of the mission of St. Barnabas Health System. Our next guest will talk about how this mission has continued and the value that it brings to our patients, residents, and retirement community family in Beaver, Allegheny, and Butler counties. Please join me now in welcoming Shelli Sommariva. She is the Director of Development at St. Baranabas Charities. Good morning, Shelli, and welcome back to the Best of Beaver County.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always wonderful to talk with you. For any first-time listener, tell our listening audience who you are and how you came to St. Barnabas.
Of course. So I've been with St. Barnabas for a little over 18 years, and my position now is the Director of Development. And I have the honor of raising funds, raising money throughout the year to benefit the Free Care Fund here at St. Barnabas, and that helps the patients and the residents who, through no fault of their own, are unable to provide the funds that they need to care for themselves, and so the Free Care Fund steps in to help them. And what we do here at St. Barnabas Charities is to raise those dollars.
Wow, and I know you're being honest or humble, Shelli, but the fact of the matter is nothing works without you.
That is not true at all. We have a wonderful staff here at St. Barnabas, also at the health system and charities. We also work with a great group of volunteers through all of our events, and without any of them, this isn't possible.
All right, it takes a team effort then.
It does.
Very good. And many of the things, there are so many of the things that make St. Barnabas, as we say, apart from the ordinary. This is also in relation to the upfront, that an upfront fee is not required. And the importance placed on comfort and security is pretty paramount at St. Barnabas.
That is true. Within residents living at the health system who would like to live independently in our apartments or patio homes are not asked to provide an upfront fee or an endowment, which you might see at other facilities in the area. And so, we focus on bringing our residents into the health system and providing, safe, secure environment, lots of fun activities, friendship, fellowship. And I work with our residents every day and can account for that.
Yeah, so, and you mentioned just a few minutes ago about the employees. The employees' participation, these caring employees, really means a lot to St. Barnabas. Absolutely.
I talked about our volunteers and our staff here at Charities, but working with our residents and our patients every day is an outstanding group of employees, and they truly care about our patients here at St. Barnabas and offer the quality care, friendship, and make sure that everyone's taken care of. And the families, also let us know how thankful they are to work with the staff here.
Mm-hmm. And you've been there for 18 years, so there have been changes and charitable events and trying to come up with ones that the public is going to want to participate in. I'll bet that's a challenge.
Well, we have traditional and non-traditional ways of fundraising, and we have been very fortunate to have great support from the community, from our sponsors, donors, our own group of employees here at St. Barnabas who have supported us over the years.
Can you talk about some of these events and when they occur and how our public can participate in them?
Absolutely. Our fundraising events start in April. We have our annual Founders Day Gala, which we'll talk a little bit more about. And we'll be honoring Ben Stein with the Hans Award, and that's in April. And so that's more of a gala dinner, and Ben Stein will come, and he'll be the guest speaker. So that's more of a gala dinner event, and that's in Cranberry Township. And then it's followed by a golf open, which is held at Conley Resort in Butler County, and followed up by a Free Care 5K where you can run or walk, and that is in August. We have a Sporting Clays event in September, and that is at Seven Springs. And then a Ladies' Day Out, which is a shopping and a lunch vendor event here in Gibsonia.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds as though you try to encompass the entire community.
We do. Hopefully there's something everyone will be interested in, lots of different interests. People come out from all over the region to help support these events, and so there's lots of more information on our website at stbarnabascharities.com. You can get more information. You can register online. You can call our office, at 724-625-3770, and we'd be happy to answer any questions or help.
Shelli Sommariva is the Director of Development with St. Barnabas Charities. And over the past couple years, Shelli, in Beaver County, we have seen the footprint from St. Barnabas growing in a positive way throughout our communities. It must really mean a lot to the folks in Gibsonia, where you have so many of these events, and trying to get the residents of that community, not only the retirement communities and your patients, but the community at large to participate.
It is. We're very, like I said, we're very fortunate. We have St. Barnabas is located in 3 counties: Butler County, Allegheny County, and of course Beaver County, and we have facilities in all of those counties, and we, have great support from the people in the community, lots of donations for not only attending the events, but if we have donations for the silent auctions, like I said, we're very fortunate, and we have great support, so we are very thankful for that.
The charitable golf outings, the free care 5K run walk, the ladies' day out, the clay shoot, these are special charity functions that are coming up throughout the year. But you also, at St. Barnabas, do other fundraising to support the patients, the care beyond these very special events.
Yes, we do. I said we have non-traditional as well as traditional, and some of those non-traditional ones that we haven't talked about yet would be we operate a thrift store, and so we take donations from the public or our own residents, our staff members, and we sell furniture and home decor and knickknacks and all the things that you would have in your house. So our resale thrift store is called Furniture at the Firehouse, and that's located here in Valencia. And the proceeds from those sales and that operation benefit the Free Care Fund.
Mm-hmm. And you also have Rudolph Auto Repair?
That is correct. Rudolph Auto Repair at St. Barnabas is located in Gibsonia. And again, the proceeds from that is a full-service auto repair operation, so you can get your car inspections, maintenance, new tires, whatever you might need throughout the year. Rudolph Auto Repair can help with that, and again, the proceeds benefit St. Barnabas and the Free Care Fund.
And the folks up near Beaver Meadow and those in Brighton Township in the surrounding area also were happy to find out when St. Barnabas took over the Tuska Plaza.
Right. So the Shop and Save at Tuska Plaza, as well as the Shop and Save in Rochester, both of those stores the proceeds do benefit the Free Care Fund as well. So we have a great addition to that community through the Shop and Save. Okay.
In closing, tell us a little bit more about the Founders Day Celebration Gala. You said Ben Stein is going to be the guest speaker.
That is true. So we're very excited to welcome Ben Stein. He will be the guest speaker, and he will receive the Hans Award. And the Hans Award at St. Barnabas is named in honor of the St. Barnabas founder, Gouverneur Hans. And we have had many previous awardees over the years, noting Elsie Hillman, Fred Rogers, President Gerald Ford, Rocky Blyer, Debbie Reynolds, many others. So they come to celebrate our Founders Day, help us raise money through the Free Care Fund through this gala event. Very good.
Shelli Sommariva, Director of Development with St. Barnabas Charities, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today and highlight the mission and focus of St. Barnabas.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching and listening to us on the Best of Beaver County on the St. Barnabas Radio Network. I'm Mike Romai. Live healthy.
When you think about retirement, what images come to mind? Why not let yourself imagine enjoying an exceptional retirement lifestyle at the Village at St. Barnabas in Gibsonia? Attainable luxury can become yours because the Village has no large upfront fees and it's based on a simple annual no-risk contract. The only decision to make is when to move in. Call 724-443-0700 or click stbarnabashealthsystem.com.
Thank you for listening to the Best of Beaver County. St. Barnabas is pleased to have provided content and sponsorship for the program. Tune in this Sunday at 11:30 for an encore presentation of today's program on Beaver County Radio. And next Thursday at 11 for another edition of the Best of Beaver County on WBVP, WMBA, and 99.3 FM.